While President Trump visits storm-ravaged North Carolina, Washington remains focused on the controversy surrounding the president's Supreme Court nominee. Judge Brett Kavanaugh has said that he'll testify publicly on Capitol Hill Monday to defend himself against accusations of sexual assault from his time in high school. His accuser, Dr. and Professor Christine Blasey Ford, says that she wants an FBI investigation into the allegations before she testifies. She says that she's been the subject of death threats and argues that an investigation would ensure that the facts and witnesses are evaluated in a nonpartisan manner. Well, now Democrats are backing Ford's request, while many Republicans are urging her to show up on Monday. Earlier today, President Trump also weighed in.
Well, I would let the senators take their course. Let the senators do it. They're doing a very good job. They've given tremendous amounts of time. They've already postponed a major hearing. And really, they're hurting somebody's life very badly. And it's very unfair, I think, to, as you know, Justice Kavanaugh has been treated very, very tough. I'd really want to see her. I really would want to see what she has to say. But I want to give it all the time they need. Look, if she shows up and makes a credible showing, that'll be very interesting, and we'll have to make a decision. But I can only say this: he is such an outstanding man. Very hard for me to imagine that anything happens.
CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reid joins us now from the White House. So, Paula, the focus here now has been this FBI investigation at the heart of the debate. Do you think that the president will call for an FBI investigation? We know there was one during Anita Hill's allegations. Do you see one happening in this climate?
Well, let's be clear about the FBI's role here. Whenever anyone is appointed or potentially going to get a federal judicial position, the FBI is recommended to do a background check. Usually the White House cues them. They have to do this background check. And as part of that, they call people, but they don't investigate crimes as they're calling witnesses and gathering documents. They just need to know whether or not this person represents a threat to national security. As a courtesy, they will provide a copy of any background check to the Senate that does these confirmations. But there's no federal crime here for them to investigate. Typically, sexual misconduct, like the incident that is described, that is something that will be handled at the state or local level. So here, the only thing that could happen is that the White House could direct the FBI to sort of further investigate this particular incident. But again, they're not investigating it as prosecutors. That any sort of prosecution or criminal charges, that would have to happen at the local level. As of now, though, the White House's stance is that Kavanaugh has been investigated at least 6 times before for other background checks, and there's no indication that they're going to order the FBI to resume its background check on Kavanaugh.
You know, I want to back up for a second. You were talking sort of about the FBI and what they did. You know, the focus was, is this man a threat to national security? So with that type of understanding, Paula, do you think that this was even on their radar when they did a background check? Do we know that?
We don't. At this point, we know that they received a letter on September 12th that was dated back from July 2018. And when they received that, they sort of added that to his folder. They flagged it here for lawyers at the White House, but they didn't reopen his background investigation. Of course, I think they try very hard to be fully comprehensive. As the president noted, that he's gone through this 6 times for various federal positions, but it's impossible to know anything, especially if you have an accuser like this woman who did not come forward to any sort of law enforcement where there would actually have been a record. So far, the primary record, in addition to her memory, are some notes from a therapist that obviously the FBI wouldn't have been privy to if they didn't know there was this accusation.
Paul, I want to turn and ask you about an interview that The Hill did where President Trump said, "I don't have an attorney general." We know that the president has not liked that Sessions recused himself from the Russia probe. He's been very vocal about that. But do we know what the other reasons might be that the president has concerns about having Sessions as his attorney general?
Well, it's been interesting to watch the evolution of the president's grievance with his attorney general. He does indeed have an attorney general. He's going to speak in a short time in Illinois to a group of law enforcement. But the president has been very vocal about how upset he was with Attorney General Sessions for recusing himself from the Russia probe. But it was clear that politically, that wasn't enough to fire his attorney general. The president certainly had no problem firing other officials with whom he disagreed or was unhappy with. But Jeff Sessions seemed to be politically protected because senators said they would not confirm any successor if Attorney General Sessions was fired without cause. You have to remember, too, Attorney General Sessions has been working very diligently to deliver on the president's campaign promises, particularly on immigration and at the border. But it seems recently the president and the White House, they've signaled that there was something else besides Russia that was sort of upsetting the president, but they wouldn't specify. Here in this Hill interview, though, it seems the president starts to give some sort of indication. He says he's not happy with the situation at the border. Sources have suggested to me that the president will likely pin the disastrous zero-tolerance policy and the fallout on his attorney general. But, Rena, we have to point out all of the things that the attorney general has done on the border besides zero tolerance. He has expedited deportations. He's tried to end DACA. He staffed up the immigration courts. He's tried to limit the number of asylum seekers and even block money to sanctuary cities. He has been laser focused on delivering on President Trump's campaign promise about strict immigration law enforcement. So when the president said he's not happy about what's happening at the border, it's very unclear why he would be unhappy with his attorney general about that issue. And it raises questions about whether or not this is just pretext for trying to fire him.
Fascinating look. Paula Reid, thank you very much for joining us and for that report.